The exciting part, right?
Yeah.
Where all the action is. Okay. Cassie? Okay, or they do some kind of really funky, like, oh, yeah, they say, the thing to remember with that is this is an anthem, right? And can somebody remind me what an anthem is? I defined it, I think on Monday or Tuesday. So I know it was a long time ago. But can someone give me an example of an anthem besides the Star Spangled Banner? The Eagles, right? Fly, Eagles fly. So it's an anthem. So it's supposed to make people excited, right? It's supposed to make people proud, excited. It's supposed to entice some kind of optimistic emotion. So the end of the Star Spangled Banner, typically when you see, Beyonce or whoever doing it at the Super Bowl or during a baseball game, that last phrase, home of the home of the brave, is usually very loud. It's usually very drawn out. The crowd usually starts clapping and throwing their hats in the air. The fighter jets go above. It's this very over the top kind of woohoo kind of moment, right? Think about the words now and how they fit with the rhythm of the melody. Okay, so you have three options. Smooth, choppy, it doesn't make sense. Take one of those three and then give me an example. You can take an example.
Works.
It works with it, yes. Can you give me an example? Maybe a line that you think works really well?
No.
Okay. How about someone else?
Adding on to the precepts or like
Okay, so the say does that song. And that's an interesting phrase. I'm glad you picked that one up because almost all of the words have their own note, except some of them don't. You have, oh, say does that Star Spangled Banner yet wave. So not every word has to get a note. You get more than one note. Oh, say does that. It's all on one pitch. It's different words, different rhythm. The other really important thing to note about that is word stress. I know some of you are in an English class right now where you're talking about poetry, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And have you talked about word stress at all? How that's important in rhyme schemes? It's the same thing with music. In fact, it's even more important in music because it dictates what meter you're in. Can someone explain to me what meter is, or I can explain to you if you don't know?
What do you think meter might be?
Chris?
Isn't that the thing that like rocks back and forth?
That's a metronome. That's part of it. Yeah. A metronome keeps a steady pulse or steady beat, and meter is based off of how many beats are in. Exactly, the time signature. 4/4 is one, 3/4 is another, 2/4. And what that tells you is not only how many beats are in a particular measure, but also tells you what beats are accented. The Star Spangled Banner is in 3/4, and so you'll notice that the most accented words are on the strong beats, like beat 1. So, oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light? So the important words are accented on the strong beats. So when we start writing our anthem, and you have the words that are on the board right now, try to keep that in mind because that can be really important to make things a lot easier for you. What's another really important thing? Kind of common sense, but it has to do with singing when you're thinking about writing a melody. Okay, I'll give you an example of what would be a bad idea. You should say something. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light when so proudly we walk? Someone said it. Who said it? Breathing. And that's part of making phrases. You don't want to all of these verses, I know one of them's only 2 lines, but you don't want to do more than 1 line without at least taking a little bit of a breath, right? So when you're making melodies, remember to make phrases that go along with the sentences. Another bad example of what would be a bad idea when writing this would be, oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we walk, da 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 da. Right? That's too broken up. Doesn't go with the words, right? When you were talking to someone, if I was to say, Chris, did you eat breakfast today?
I did.
Exactly. So these are all important things to keep in mind. Can someone summarize the points that we just talked about? Maybe just one or two. We'll go around the room, and you don't have to give me all of them right now. Audrey?
Breathe, but not too much.
Okay, so make sure we have some breathing in there so that our singers don't suffocate themselves.
Anyone else?
The melodic shape.
Yeah, yeah, that.
So I think you're going along the lines of, oh man, what was it called? Don't help me out. Something about painting. Chris got it. Text painting. Yep.
What?
Good job, Chris. So remember melodic shape. Maybe try to text paint with the words that you have. So there's one verse up there with guitars and drums and rhythm in our feet and a lot of really good musical words. So I think that verse may have a little bit of that. I think. What else? So we have make sure you know there's the phrases end in a fashion where you can read. Try to put some text painting or melodic shape into it. What about words? What do we have to make sure the words do? Yes. Yes, we have to make sure they match up with the melody. And that includes what beats they fall on. Another thing to think about is starts with a bear starts with a question, right? Oh, say, can you see?
Oh, yeah.
And when we normally ask questions, how does the inflection of our voice go? It gets high at the end, right? And that's how we know if people are asking questions or not. For example, instead of if I said, there's a chair over there, as opposed to, there's a chair over there?
Is there a chair?
Exactly. I didn't even say is there. I just said, there's a chair over there? So if I just read that in a book and there was no punctuation, I wouldn't be able to tell if that was a sentence or a question. But because of the inflection of my voice, we know which one is, yes, there's a chair over there, and we know which one is, are you sure there's a chair over there?
Wait, but doesn't it like go deeper? Like it's or does it go higher?
And then the key point is at the end it goes higher. There's a raised point at the inflection. It could go lower. I could say, there's a chair over there, and that would be the same inflection. But all right, so it seems like you folks are getting this aspect of it, anyways. But I will write it on the board and make points just in case, so you can look up at it while we're composing today.
So as you can see, this lesson, I think the plan was fairly well thought out. I think our application of the plan could have used a little bit more work and some thought. It was a different group of kids that we were not accustomed to teaching yet. And I think we adapted well enough to get the lesson through and for learning to occur, for some of the objectives to be met. But if I were to do the lesson again, I would rethink the sequence and also the methods I went about, specifically with the group work and the individual work, how I went about doing the lesson. Overall, I think it was a fairly well thought out lesson. It worked. I just think it might have worked better if we implemented some other methods. But the lesson plan's down below, and feel free to leave a comment.